Hello, brothers and sisters. This is Lisa, and I'm here to share some devotionals with all of you. The first one is titled Hummingbirds. An amazing fact: there are over 300 kinds of hummingbirds in the world, which come in every color of the rainbow. The smallest is the bee hummingbird from Cuba, the smallest bird in the world. It is only 2 inches long and weighs less than a dime at 0.07 ounces. The largest is the giant hummingbird that can reach a whopping 8 inches in length. Even though hummingbirds are small in size, they have enormous appetites. Hummingbirds feed often and must consume more than their body weight in food each day. In order to obtain enough nectar, they feed every 10 or 15 minutes, from dawn until dusk. Hummingbirds consume between 4 and 7 calories a day. That may not seem like much, but if humans, who normally eat 3,500 calories a day, had the metabolism of a hummingbird, they would have to consume approximately 155,000 calories a day. The hummingbird's copious need for calories is because of their extremely high heart rate and metabolism. Hummingbirds are not very social animals, which is why you never see them flying in flocks. In fact, males and females live apart until breeding season. After mating, the female is on her own to build the nest and raise her young. The females usually lay 1 or 2 very tiny eggs about the size of a pinto bean. When they hatch out, these tiny babies are very vulnerable to predators, including large insects. When it comes to flying, nobody does it better than a hummingbird. Like a helicopter, it can go up, down, sideways, backwards, and even upside down. This is because most of its wing is made of hand bones instead of arm bones like other birds. The ruby-throated hummingbird, for example, is reported to have a wing rate of 70 beats per second, or 4,200 per minute. Hummingbirds are such good flyers that most of them never walk more than 2 inches. And they can terrorize birds 10 times their own size with their acrobatic skill. Hummingbirds are also amazing hunters of insects, frequently plucking mosquitoes, gnats, and fruit flies right out of the air while hovering. Did you know that the Bible teaches that angels do not travel at the speed of sound, or even at the speed of light, but rather at the speed of thought? The angel Gabriel came to Daniel from heaven while he was still praying. Yea, whiles I was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me about the time of the evening oblation. Daniel 9, verse 21. And that's the end of the first one. The second one is titled Fiery Tongue. An amazing fact: the largest tongue in the world is found in the blue whale. Its tongue is the size of an elephant and weighs 5,400 pounds. You might think that your tongue is a small organ and not extremely important, but without it, you could not eat, talk, spit, swallow, or even kiss. Scientists have even determined that the tongue is, pound for pound, the strongest muscle in your body, even though it is the only muscle that is attached at only one end. The human tongue has been listed in world records as well. The longest human tongue on record is 3.86 inches from tip to the back. Contrary to old wives' tales, women have shorter tongues than men. Thomas Blackstone holds the record for having the strongest tongue. He actually lifted a 24-pound, 3-ounce weight with his tongue. According to the World Record Academy, Fran Capo is the world's fastest talking female. She was clocked at 603 words in 54 seconds. That comes to 11 words a second. She first broke the world record on the Larry King Live show in 1986 when she spoke 585 words per minute. Before you think I am biased about women talking, let me add that Steve Woodmore from England was clocked at 637 words per minute. Solomon has something to say about lots of words. Our text this evening reminds us that people who talk a lot can be inclined to say things they regret. When our tongues move faster than our brains, we're in for trouble. The Bible often warns us to watch what we say. James writes, "Look also at ships. Although they are so large and are driven by fierce winds, they are turned by a very small rudder wherever the pilot desires. Even so the tongue is a little member and boasts great things. See how great a forest a little fire kindles, and the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. The tongue is so set among our members that it defiles the whole body, and sets on fire the course of nature, and it is set on fire by hell." James 3 verses 4 through 6. The proverb encourages us that he who restrains his lips is wise. Guard your tongue. It is not the number of words you speak that demonstrates your intelligence. It is the care with which you choose them. In the multitude of words there wanteth not sin, but he that refraineth his lips is wise. The tongue of the just is a choice silver, the heart of the wicked is little worth. Proverbs 10, verses 19 and 20. And that's the end of the second one. And the last one I'd like to share with you all is titled, "Can a person be saved through his or her spouse?" Many have asked if it's okay, based on 1 Corinthians 7, to marry an unbeliever. Some think that such a union can result in the salvation of a spouse, almost like an automatic ticket to heaven. I don't believe that is what the Apostle Paul intends to convey. While it is true that a person can have a sanctifying influence on their spouse, salvation is an individual matter. Let's look at the passage. First, Paul writes to encourage those who are already married to an unbeliever to stay married and not get divorced. "To the married I command, yet not I, but the Lord. A wife is not to depart from her husband, but even if she does depart, let her remain unmarried or be reconciled to her husband." 1 Corinthians 7, verses 10 and 11. Then Paul goes on to explain, a woman who has a husband who does not believe, if he is willing to live with her, let her not divorce him. For the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband. And that's in verses 13 and 14. What does it mean that the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife? We find the answer in verse 16. "For how do you know, O wife, whether you will save your husband? Or how do you know, O husband, whether you will save your wife?" We also read that husbands may be won by the conduct of their wives when they observe your chaste conduct accompanied by fear. 1 Peter 3, verses 1 and 2. In other words, your example can be a saving influence to an unbelieving spouse, but there is no guarantee of salvation. Again, the passage in Corinthians is specifically for couples who are already married and one becomes a Christian. If you're already married to an unbeliever, don't automatically get a divorce. Be a positive influence in his or her life. For those who are not yet married, Paul's advice is best. Do not join your life with an unbeliever. Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion hath light with darkness? 2 Corinthians 6, verse 14. And that's the end of these devotionals. I pray you all have a beautiful day in the Lord. God bless each and every one of you, and I will see you either next video or in the air. Bye-bye.